All right, I think so. We should be live now, right? Okay. All right, so I think so. We should be live, uh, and yes, we are. Great, great. So, okay, first things first, I would like to know that am I audible and is my screen visible to everyone? Is there any issue that anyone seems to be having? And other than that, there are around 17, 18 people already here with us. So, how about all of you just say a nice little hi to me so that I know you guys are here? So, Chitransh says hi. Hello, how are you? And okay, hi Ankit. Hope everything is good this Sunday with you guys. And yeah, I'm doing well too, Chitransh. Thanks for asking. So, all right, great. So first things first, I say let's just wait for 2-3 minutes for more students to join. As you guys can see, a lot of people are constantly joining. Shreya's here, Dheeraj is here, Vamshi, Santosh. Hi everyone. And okay, so we will take 2-3 minutes before we start. But till then, I just want to know how's everyone's day going, and does everyone know what the objective for today's live session is? So today's live session is basically going to be about making a Spotify clone using just HTML and CSS. And obviously, this is a masterclass. So just 2 hours, we'll be making this entire thing. You guys will be getting certificates, but yeah, that's for later. But don't worry. Okay. So if everyone is ready, I think we can officially start. Right, there are around 25 people now, and yes, we are going to be creating Spotify clone. So great, great. All right. So first things first, let me just introduce myself. Right. Hello everyone. I'm Avi Vashisht and I'm an instructor at Accio. And I've been at Accio for a good while now. So don't worry, you guys are in good hands. And if you guys did not know what Accio Job is, Accio Job is this startup which allows you to switch your careers into tech careers basically. Right. And we do offer 100% job guarantee. So if you want to know more about us, you can just visit our website, acciojob.com, and there are a lot of courses to choose from. Maybe if you're a beginner into coding, there's a course for you. If you're an intermediate, there's a course for you, right? And it's not just related to DSA or front end. We have also started a new course for data analytics. So if you guys are into that, you guys can definitely check this out as well. And at any given point, if you have any doubts, just leave them in the chats, and somebody from Accio will definitely respond to you. I'll try to respond myself as well. But anyways, apart from that, one more thing that I would like to say before we get started is this is not our first clone that we've built in this YouTube live sessions, right? So we've actually made or curated a playlist for you guys where we have been creating such projects. And I myself have done a lot of project building, right? So we have built Amazon clones, Matter clones, Swiggy clones, Tinder, Twitter, a lot of things. I myself, I think, built Twitter and Airbnb as well. But yeah, so if at any point in time, you guys can definitely just, if you want to build some projects, add them in your resumes, do whatever, learn something, right? I would say go to this playlist and definitely try making all of these projects. All of these are really, really simple, but really cool projects to make. Anyways, so, and yeah, definitely do let us know if there is any other clone that you would want to make us, you would want us to build in the next YouTube workshops or anything. We'll be all down for that. And, anyways, so Ankit asks, sir, for this lecture, what are the things that are required before we attend this session? So, and especially in terms of CSS. All right. So, Ankit, something that I'd say is today the project that we're building is actually fairly simple. So I'll try my best to teach you guys everything that is related to this. And I would say that being a beginner would be ideal. But even if this is your first time having a look at HTML and CSS, I'll try to make all of these concepts sound very simple, and I will try my best to make sure that you guys understand something, and I'm able to provide value to you guys. Right. PCR says hi. Hi. So, okay. And Deepak is asking currently you are teaching in which module? So, I used to teach F3. So, Deepak seems to be an AccuJob student. F3 was advanced JavaScript for those of you who do not know what F3 is. But yes. All right. I think without any further ado, we can get started, right? And first things first, something that I would like to show you guys is that this is going to be the overall layout of our entire session today. So, and somewhere in the middle, let's also include the certificate. Right. Okay. So obviously we've gone to the introduction. Now I'll be telling you guys what we are going to build in the next 2 hours. Right. So that'll be the basic walkthrough of both the Spotify's original web page and the clone that we'll be building. Right. Apart from that, I would like to give you guys some extra tips in the sense that obviously this is a very simple project built using HTML and CSS. I would like to introduce the concept of JavaScript and advanced JavaScript to you guys as well, and because that is very very important in any front end developer's career, right? Other than that, we'll just quickly get started with the code. So I've already made a GitHub repo for you guys, by the way, which should be in the description of this YouTube live. So go ahead and have a look at that GitHub repo. That GitHub repo already has all the code that you'll be needing, right? I have already gone through the pain of adding these assets. So all of these icons are actually the icons that have been provided by Spotify themselves, right? So something that I believe is that when you're making a clone, the most important thing is the fact that your font and your icons need to be the same. If your fonts and your icons are not the same, there's no way you can actually make a good replica or a good clone, right? So that basically becomes a step one. So like I said, I've already gone through the pain and of doing that, right? So you guys will already have all of the assets necessary, and I've also imported the fonts as well. So the fonts you'll be using from Google Fonts, but anyways, right? So, okay. Once we're done with that, we'll then definitely get started by first making the page structure, because obviously making the page structure is the next important thing. Then after that, we'll make the sidebar. After making the sidebar, maybe we'll make the main container. And towards the end of the class, just before we are almost done, we'll be distributing the certificates. So you need to stay in the YouTube live. A form will be floated, and you guys will be given certificates that you guys can obviously post on LinkedIn, post on Instagrams, post on your socials, put in your resumes, right? So don't worry, you guys will be getting a certificate for this course, for this masterclass, right? And then definitely we'll be ending the session in just 2 hours. So a short session, but definitely a nice one, right? Okay. So other than that, one last thing that I would like to say is let's keep the chats very active. I think we have around 50 students in the chats. I would definitely enjoy talking to you guys every 2 3 minutes, every 5 minutes, right? Getting to know more about you, getting to know about your doubts, and let's definitely keep the session interactive so that it's interesting for all of us, right? Okay, so as you guys can see on my screen, this is the clone that we'll be building today, right? And I know it looks too good, but this is, trust me, this is the clone that we'll be building, and this is the obviously this is the original Spotify, right? As you guys can tell from the URL. So now, okay, let's just go through the overall structure of things, right? And the overall structure seems to be very very simple. The way I like to think about it is that we have around, I think, four things, right? One is this little box that we have, and one thing that I would like to say is in HTML, everything can be considered as a div or a box, right? So first things first is to just identify all the boxes, or mostly all the bigger boxes, right? So in our screen, as of right now, I can see four boxes. One is this little box with the home and the search icon. Then we have this little box, right, which has your library. Then we have this larger box, and then we have this little player. Correct. So I think around four. And if you want to think about it in a much more larger sense, there are actually just three boxes. One is on the left side, one is on the right side, and one is at the bottom. Just three boxes, and that's it. So that is the first task for the day, the fact that we'll be making three boxes, right? And as you guys can tell over here, we have done pretty much that. We have three boxes, one on the left, one on the right, and one at the bottom. Now, the good thing about Spotify is that the entire page is not scrollable. And what that means is, let's say, let's go to AccuJob's website. Over here, the entire page is scrollable, right? But inside your Spotify, your entire page is not scrollable. Either the right side is scrollable or the left side is scrollable. And in the left side, specifically, just this your library div, right? Just this your library div is the div which is scrollable. So we just have two scrollable divs. And what that would mean is that our entire HTML page, we have to make sure that we put overflow hidden, right? For those of you guys who don't know what overflow hidden means, overflow hidden just means that there will be no scrolling that we'll be putting by default, right? The only scrollings or the only scroll bars that we'll be putting are the bars that are in our control. That is in our right side and in this left side. Cool. So, okay. I say without any, again, further ado, let's just quickly get started with the code. We are 10 minutes into the live, so we have around 1 hour, 50 minutes. And I feel that is ample time to quickly get done with this entire page. So the walkthrough is also done. Does anyone have any doubts so far? By default says, Sir, I am a beginner. Could you teach me how to use foreign while loop? So, by default, definitely I would love to, but if time permits, I will definitely give you a quick briefing. But today's session is just about front end, so let's stick to just HTML and CSS for today, right? But I'm sure there are a lot of other playlists. I think there's a DSA beginner live session that was done at our channel as well. So feel free to go watch that, right? Anyways, so anyone has any doubts so far? With what we'll be doing today, what is the overall thing about the certificates you will be receiving, anything. And if by the way, if you have any other doubts also, you guys can definitely, I think there's a link that has been floated by AccuJob, and the link is for a one-on-one career counseling session. So if you have a bigger doubt that you would want to discuss personally, feel free to go to that link and fill up the form, and somebody at Accu will definitely reach out to you, right? So let me know any doubts, or are we all good to go? So definitely leave a +1 if you guys are excited and you say that we should start with the coding part. Okay, so Chitransh says let's go. So I believe let's listen to Chitransh and let's go. And thank you so much, Ranadeep. Means a lot. And Avishkar also says, let's start. Great. So first things first, like I told you guys, the most important thing is the assets, right? For you, the assets you will have to download from the GitHub link that I have attached in the description. And for those of you guys who have not uh, uh, or who don't know how to use GitHub, GitHub is very, very simple. You just need to go to my particular link. Let me just quickly show that to you. So the link that I've shared is this particular link. This particular link, right? Now the folder that I'm talking about is this assets folder. So you just need to download it, and I think somewhere over here you will get the option to download, or you can just download the entire zip this entire folder and then get the assets folder, right? For me, since I already have it in my system, what I'll be doing it, I'll just be dragging it from my other VS Code instance that I have. So this is my assets folder, and let me just put it inside my Spotify Clone. Right. Now, in this folder, let me remind you what you have is you have all of the different images. So, as you guys can see, this is the arrow, this is the back navigation, right? We have the playlist icon, we have the right arrows, search icon, setting icon, shuffle icon. We also have these three, the three albums that we are showing on our UI. So, we have mix one, mix two, mix three. Then, other than that, I have already attached the Spotify logo as well. So, here it is, right? It's transparent, you can use it wherever you want to. So even the logo is there, all of the different icons, I've already taken the pain of attaching them for you. Let's go to our index.html, and this will be the main page where our HTML code is written, right? So over here, first things first, let's just quickly build our boilerplate, and the boilerplate is just this, right? So all we have is our head tag, our body tag, and our HTML tags. Inside the head tag, we definitely need to give a title, and the title is going to actually be Spotify. But what Spotify has done is Spotify has something extra to their title, right? And I think that title, if you want to see exactly what it is, you guys can inspect element, and when you inspect element, you guys can go to their head part and over here get the title. So Spotify dash web player music for everyone. That is the exact title that these people are using. So we'll also be using that exact title, right? So we have Spotify web player music for everyone. The description, if you guys want to give, is just going to be a simple Spotify clone built using HTMLs and CSS. This is not mandatory. A viewport, this will allow us to make it responsive in mobile, and linking a style sheet is very important. Right. So other than that, there are two, three other things that we want to add. Right. Firstly, we want to add the fonts, and secondly, we also want to add this fav icon. So let's actually go live right now. And if I click on this go live, this is what I see. Right, as you guys can see, our title is already there, but apart from the title, we don't really have anything in our HTML page. Right, so obviously let's just put a simple h1 over here, and inside the h1 I'll say hello active students. Right. When I do that, we see it over here. So that means our HTML page is running just fine. There's nothing wrong. Right. So, like I said, one thing that we definitely need to first do is take care of the fav icon. Right. And so the fav icon is nothing but it's the logo for that particular icon. Correct. So we do already have that as well. Let me just copy this, and let me also copy these three lines, and I'll tell you what these three lines mean. Okay. So this particular line is the line for a fav icon, and this basically this basically has an href for our assets slash logo.png. Now if you remember, our assets slash logo.png is this particular logo, right? So when I put this code, all I'm trying to say is our fav icon is going to be this logo, right? As you guys can now tell is that we have three Spotify windows, and if I just try to adjust them from these three tabs, I really cannot tell which one's which, right? I cannot tell if this is the real one or this is the real one or this is the real one based on the tab, just the tab, right? So obviously the end goal is to make a website so good that you yourself get confused as to which is the real one and which is yours. But anyways, so, okay. Now, what do we need to build is our five icon is done. Let me also tell you guys the fonts that we are importing. So over here, I've attached, or I'll be giving you guys the link to pre-connect your Google Fonts, right? The font that we will be using is Nunito. So this Nunito font is actually a font which is very similar to the font that Spotify itself is using, right? So for those of you who haven't really used Google Fonts before, just go to Google Fonts. It's a website which allows you to get free fonts, obviously powered by Google, and then you have this font called Nunito, right? When we go to this is basically how that font looks, and I think the only two fonts that we need are the regular 400 and the 300, and I think that's about it. So we have 300, 400, and 700. My bad. So we have 300, 400, and 700. 700 would be bold, right? And that's about it. So just these three lines, and so these two lines are for pre-connecting the fonts. Pre-connect is something that is very good for SEO, and SEO stands for search engine optimization, right? So it makes your website faster. If I'm being not search engine optimization, but these two particular lines, as the name suggests, pre-connect, right? So before your page loads, your fonts load, loosely speaking. Anyways, so we add this line, and now what we're going to do is we're going to go to our styles of CSS. Inside our HTML body, we're going to make sure that we have a font family, and the font that we are using is Nunito, right? So for that also, if I go over here, this is the font that we'll be using, Nunito, and if Nunito is not available, then we'll be using sans serif, right? So this is going to include the basic setup. Other than that, one more thing that the basic setup will include is the root variables. So first things first, something that I would want to ask you guys is how many of you guys are aware of what root variables are? So Aman, it's Nunito, so it's Nunito. And like I said, how many of you guys are aware of what root variables are? I'll give you a hint. There are just variables for our colors, but and this is how they look like. But I would still like to know how many of you guys have worked with root variables, or you guys know what root variables are. Yes, exactly, Aman. Great. So, for those of you who don't know, root variables are just like any other variables, and what they do is they basically save colors, right? Now, I'll tell you what the power of this is. Let's say tomorrow Spotify decides to change their theme, and Spotify says, you know what, I'm going to make my theme into something which is white or gray or blue or green, right? So now the issue comes that if I have a code where I'm just using these hex values, I will have to manually go and change each and every hex values, right? But when I have this particular code, when I have my root variables, tomorrow I can wake up at any given point in time and I can say my black looks like this and my white looks like this. And the moment I save this, look at what happens to my page. It almost inverts the colors, right? Anyways, so this is basically what the use for root variables is. Let's say tomorrow, Spotify says our new theme color is orange, right? As you guys can see, whatever was black has become orange, right? And if you're mistaking this color for black, I'll tell you that this color is not black. It's a darker shade of gray, and that's about it. We have that color also. It's this one, right? So basically, root variables are just used to manage colors and quickly change colors, right? Suryansh asks, do you use Python in that? No, Suryansh. Root variables is basically a type of variable that you write in your CSS file itself, right? So the concept of the variables is same. It's used to store something, but it's not really your Python variables, right? They're CSS root variables. Anyways, so for the basic setup, I'm going to copy this code and put it in my styles of CSS, and let me explain what this is doing. Obviously, the first four lines are the root variables. These are the exact hex codes of the colors that we'll be needing, or of the colors that Spotify uses, right? And how are you? You might ask me that, sir, how are you so sure that these are the exact colors? Because I myself handpicked them. I used a color picker. And using that color picker, I figured out what exactly these colors are, right? So these are the exact colors. And when I come to my body, like I told you guys, we need to make sure that our body has no overflow. The only overflow that will be given is to this right div and this left div. If I try to scroll my entire body, my entire page is not really going anywhere, right? Nor is it going, in terms of the x-axis, nor is it scrolling in terms of the y-axis. Correct? Okay. Other than that, flex column just means one below the other. Background color black. What does this mean? This means that the background color of my HTML page is this var. Var stands for variable. Dash dash black means this. Right. So now let's actually have a look at what this looks like. As you guys can now see, my entire page is now black and the color is white. The reason for that is, like I said, very, very simple, because our background color or of our entire body and HTML is black. If tomorrow I wake up and I decide to say that this is no longer going to be black, this is going to be green, right? It becomes green. If tomorrow I wake up and decide this is going to be red, it'll be red, right? Everywhere, everywhere where I'm using this black color, it will reflect there, and that is the great thing about variables, right? You just need to change its value one in the very beginning when you're initializing it, and then throughout your entire code, the new value is reflected. Okay, so and then obviously I've done a basic styling for our A tags. If you guys are aware, by default A tags in HTML look very, very ugly, right? Let me just quickly show you what a normal ahref looks like. So ahref means an anchor tag, and so this is how the normal anchor tag looks. I know most of you guys must be aware, right? This is the ugly looking anchor tag that was there in early 2000s, I believe. So basically, to get rid of this, what we do is we just select all the anchor tags of your website and we say make the color white and the text decoration none. At least this way, the anchor tags don't look ugly, right? So, anyways, so far, is everything clear and is the basic setup clear? Shadab, I am really sorry for not speaking in Hindi, but I hope you guys understand that we should keep the medium English, because there are a lot of people who don't understand Hindi as well. But I will try my best to explain all the concepts that I can. And don't worry, stay in this session, and in the next 2 hours, you will definitely learn something. I promise you that. Right? I will be providing all the value that I can from my end. You just need to sit and watch this like a movie, practically. And if you have any doubts or any concerns, just put them in the chats. Cool. Yes, exactly, Aman. Anyways, so far we have done the very basic setup, right? I feel we should now quickly get started because we don't really have a lot of time. Now we just have around 1 hour 30 minutes to build the entire clone. Okay, so let's start with the overall structure. Like I said, the first thing that we will be doing is we will be making the entire structure. Now, how do we make the structure? I told you guys there are three big boxes that we need to deal with. One is on the left side, one is on the right side, and the other is basically this bottom div, right? So the bottom div is going to be position fixed, so we don't really need to worry about that. What we need to worry about is how are we going to make these two divs across each other, right? So for that we'll be using display flex, and that is how simple it is, right? So first things first, let's just have another div. We could ideally have it inside our body as well, but making another div will not hurt us, right? So we have this div called container. Now in this div, what I would want to do is I would want to give this div dot container, I would want to give this a flex one. The reason why I'm giving this a flex one is so that I am sure that so Ruchi, you can get the assets file from the GitHub. I've attached the link in the descriptions. The assets file will be available to you in the GitHub. All right. The GitHub is a public repo that I've shared, so don't worry about that. All right. So first things first, I would like to make my flex one. That would mean that I'm technically expanding my entire or using my entire flex region, right? Then I would like to give this very div a display of flex and a justify content of flex start, or it's not really needed, and a line item center is also not really needed. I think this should be good, right? So basically my container will be display flex, overflow hidden is important, and background color black, padding is this. Great. So I'll tell you why overflow X is hidden for our container as well. So okay, so the reason why our container also does not have any overflow is because the container will be this entire thing. So from this end to this end, and if you guys notice, I've given the color black to our container. The reason for that is, do you see this black? I hope you guys do see that there is a black background, and on top of that black background, we have gray divs. How many of you guys have noticed this? First, tell me this. So this is what I talked about, right? We have a black background, and in front of that we have gray divs. Okay, so that is why our container is this, and technically our container is not overflow or still does not have any overflow because the divs inside the container will have overflows. Correct. So that is also something that I would want you to keep a track of. Anyways, now once we are done with that, what we need to realize is we need to have a sidebar and we need to have a main content. The reason for that is this entire left div, this entire left div from home and your library. This entire left div is one div which has two divs inside of it. I agree. But this entire left div is what we'll call the sidebar. This entire main content is what we call or main container, whatever you want to say. This entire main div is what we'll call as the main content or container, right? And this will be your music player. Cool. Yes, exactly, Ranadeep. Right. So, okay, let's quickly do that. So we'll have a sidebar, and then inside of the sidebar, we'll have two divs. That is fine. But apart from the sidebar, what we'll also have is this div called main content, right? So let's quickly do that. So we'll go to our index.html. Our container will have two more divs. One will be the sidebar, the other will be the main content. Right. Again, to make it clear to you guys, what is the main content? The main content is the bigger div. Sidebar is the smaller div on the left side. Hi, Floyden. So I think you were in last week's live as well, right? So that's pretty good. So hi, I hope you're doing good, and I hope last week also you learned something. I'm really glad that you showed up today as well. But okay. Yeah, exactly. Good to have you here, Floyden. So, for those of you who don't know, Floyden was one of the most active students last week as well. And last week we built the Instagram clone. Right. I'm so sorry, I completely blacked out. But last week we built Instagram clone. The video is available on our YouTube. Anyways, so let's build this left sidebar. Right. Okay. So first things first, the left sidebar needs to have a flex as well. And to make the styling look simple to you guys, what I'll be doing is I'll actually show you guys how it looks, right? So let me just say dot sidebar and dot sidebar, and in this sidebar we'll just give this a flex of point or done 0.25, right? And I would give this a background color of orange. So at least this way you guys know how this div looks, right? Similarly, what I'll be doing is I'll go to my main content and I'll make my main content have a flex of zero point 0.8, and I'll give this a background color of, let's do red, right? So do you guys see the overall layout that we have built already? The orange one is going to be the left div and the red is going to be the main content. I hope you guys are aware of what this looks like, and this is going to become this entire thing, because on the left side, which is our orange div, we'll have this thing, and on the right side we'll have our main container, right? And to make our jobs much more simpler or much more exciting, I'll make another div, and this third div is what will be our player. So I'll go over here and I'll say player, and this player is basically our this play thing, right? So to show that to you guys also, let's just go over here. Let me give this a background color of, let's do hashtag FFF or yellow. Let's do yellow. I think yellow will go with our theme. I'll do position fixed. This way it's always going to be there. I'll give this a height of let's do 80 pixels for now, right? Width obviously will be 100%, right? And bottom will be 0. Why bottom 0? So that it's at the bottom of the screen, right? And one more thing that I would like to do is I would like to say overflow y of this particular div is author, right? So this way, when we go, you guys can already see what kind of structure we have. So we basically have an orange div, a red div, and the yellow. The orange div is our left sidebar, the red div is the main bar, main content, and the yellow div is our player, right? Now if I want to show you guys the scrolling bit, let's say we fill our main content with some h1s, right? So I'll do something. I'll basically have a lot of h1s in our main div, right? So since we have a lot of h1s, as you guys can see, now our main div is already scrollable. The entire page is not scrollable. Only the main div is what is scrollable, right? Because of the fact that we have put main content, the main content has an overflow, right? Overflow by auto, that too, to be specific. Anyways, so this is how we have overall built the entire structure of our Spotify page. And one last thing that I would like to done is, let's give our sidebar a little margin. How about we give this a margin right of zero point 0.5 rem, right? Look at how amazing this looks. So now we have a clear division between the sidebar, the red div, orange div, and the yellow. And yeah, that's about it. Pretty cool, I would say, right? And I think for this we should put left as 0 as well. Yeah, great. Correct. Now, one more thing that we need to do is I'll give my sidebar and my main content a border radius. So let's give it a border radius of 0.5 rem also, and that looks cool. Right. So this way our main div now also has a border radius, so the edges are curved. I don't know if you guys noticed that change. Right now the edges are curved, and this is where let's change the color now. So the sidebar is going to have the color of dash dash gray. The main content will also have a color of var dash dash gray, right? And our background color for this thing will be dash dash black. So if you guys can tell, we basically have gray divs. I hope you guys can still see the difference between this. Can you guys see the difference between gray and black? I know it'll be very hard for you guys to see through the screen. Okay, so we have our first doubt regarding our HTML, CSS, and front end. So Manbodh has asked, what does REM mean? So I'll give you a basic formula, Manbodh, and the formula says that one rem is equal to 16 pixels. And what does rem stand for? Rem stands for relative EM. Relative EM, right? Relative EM just means that, okay, so pixels are technically hard coding values, and not hard coding, but I would say pixels are reliant on the pixel density of a screen, right? If you go back to 10, 12 years ago where pixel density was not so much, your website might break on older versions of computers and laptops. So to prevent that from happening, we use REM, right? And this is the basic calculation. So if I would want to give if I would want to give a basic padding of, let's say, 8 pixels, what I'm doing is I'm giving zero point 0.5 rem, because 1 rem is equal to 16. So 1 divided by 2 is zero point 0.5 rem, and 16 divided by 2 is 8 pixels. So basically 0.5 rem is equal to 8 pixels, right? So that is why I feel using rem is really good, and this is something that a lot of pro developers use. So this is a habit that I would want you guys to inculcate from the very beginning, and this will take you a long way, right? Anyways, so okay, our main structure is done. It's time to build our left sidebar, obviously. So we need to build this, right? Now, one thing that I would do for now is I would give my sidebar the color black, and I'll tell you as to why am I giving my sidebar the color black. The reason for this is our sidebar has two divs, and those two divs have the color gray. So if you think about it, it is this div, the home and the search div, and it is this your library div. These two divs have the color gray. The rest two divs are, and the entire div is black, right? I hope you guys see the vision that I'm seeing. So basically, what I want to say is the fact that our sidebar, let's make our sidebar orange again, right? I'm fine with our sidebar being orange. The two divs inside this needs to be gray, right? So let me show you how we're going to quickly do that. So the sidebar will have what we'll call the top container, right? Let me just quickly see. So okay, top icons. So we have a top icons, and we have a library. So basically, yes, our sidebar will have two divs. One is this top icons, right? And the other div is this library, right? And what we're going to do is our top icons and our library are the divs which will have the background gray. Great. So okay, let's quickly build the top icons. If you think about it, what is top icons? Top icons is, I guess, the most simplest div that we'll be building today. It just has an icon and home, an icon and search, right? I have already told you guys that the icons also I'm providing, right? So at the end of the day, what does this div becomes? It just becomes a flex. It has a home icon and a home tag, a search icon and a search tag. That is just enough flex, right? So basically, this is what my container becomes, correct? And that is about it. So if I think about it, this is what my top icons become, and let me show you guys what this looks like as well. Right. So right now, this is how this looks. As you guys can already tell, we just need to style this properly and we'll be good to go. I've already imported the home icon and the search icon. Right. Great. So what do I need to do now? I need to fix my link flex. And I need to give some styling to the top icons too. So let's just quickly do that first. So let's say our top icons. This will, like I told you guys, have a background color of gray. Right. The moment I make it gray, do you guys see what happened? I want you guys to have a look now, and I'll give this a margin bottom of zero point 0.5 rem also. So now I want you guys to have a look at what basically happened. This div is now gray and this is orange, right? So like I promised, we need to build two divs, and two divs that we'll have will be gray and the div behind it is black. Great. Okay, we'll also give this a padding of zero point 0.5 rem and 1 rem, I believe, right? And we also need to, maybe if I give this margin bottom 1 rem, we'll have to have a look as to why the margin isn't working. Uh, let's see. No, we'll have a look as to what is wrong with my margin. Did I spell it right? Yes, we did. We'll have a look at the margin, and border radius will also be zero point 0.5 rem. Great. So I understand what's happening. Let's just make this black. Let's keep this orange. When we work on the other div, I'll show you guys how that looks. Right. Anyways, so this is what our top icons looks like. And if I talk about link flex is the styling that we'll be using again and again. Link flex is nothing but it's just a display flex. All right. And okay. I think I should just copy this. Okay, so I'll just tell you what all of the styling means. Right, we've already gone ahead and gotten our top icons technically. Yeah, we already have our top icons nicely done. The only thing I'm doing is giving it a flex and columns that I can give it a gap also. Okay, this is not really needed, but let's just have this, and that's about it. Anyways, okay, so the moment I apply my stylings, basically what happened was our top container became a little better. And if I speak in terms of the code that we did was the fact that our link flex is just a display flex. We have given it a justify container flex start. We have given it a gap of 1 rem. So the gap between the icon and the text is 1 rem. Align item center means vertically they're centered. Opacity 0.7. Now, why have I given an opacity of 0.7? If I hover on it, I wanted it to glow a little, right? So this is a really neat trick that I like to do. Just give a opacity of 0.7, 0.8 originally, and when you hover on something, make the opacity 1. That way, it looks like it starts glowing when you hover on it, right? And this is also something that Spotify itself is doing, right? So that's basically about it. You don't need to change colors, just opacity does the job, right? And that's about it. The image has been, or the icon is our image, has been given a height and width of 1.2 rem each. So this is 1.2 rem each. 1.2, now what would 1.2 rem mean? If 1 rem is 16 pixels, right, what would point 1 rem be? Point 1 rem will be 1.6. Point 2 rem will be 3.2, right? So 16 plus 3.2. So around 19.2 pixels is what the height of this thing is. All right. And similarly, my p tag has been given as font size of 16 pixels. And that's about it. Right. So just like that, this entire div is done. Right. So now what I need to worry about is our second div, which is the library. So let me do something about this. Let me just go over here and let me just add a lot of H1s. Right. The same thing that we did before. So I'll just add a lot of H1s and I want to show you guys what basically happens. As of right now, if I'm trying to scroll this, it is not scrolling, right? So what we need to do is we need to make sure that our library becomes scrollable somehow, right? So how do we do that? I just first things first, give this a background color of VAR gray as well. The moment I do that, you guys actually see what's happening, right? And that is when you realize that I need not give my sidebar. Mm, no, actually, this is completely fine. I need not give this such a big. But I think it's the library h1 margin 0. Yes, great. So the moment you do that, what do you see? We basically see that this becomes my gray div, and behind this gray div we have orange. Now if you think about it, what was orange supposed to be? Orange is supposed to be black, right? So the moment we change our orange and make it black, we get the desired output. I obviously need to give this a padding as well. I will give this the same padding that we have given to our uh, top icons, right? And other than that, I will also give this the same border radius also, zero point 0.5 rem. Right. The moment I do that, we have this. Now, the only thing that is left is again the fact that I need to make this scrollable. So how do I make a div scrollable? By adding an overflow by auto to be very specific. The moment I do that, this becomes scrollable technically. I think I need to have more H1s. Mm, okay. So for some reason, our overflow Y hasn't worked for us. We'll have to see as to why is our overflow why not working. Okay. So we need to go to our library, and this is a library border is this flex 3. Okay, so they've given a flex of 3. So the reason for giving a flex of 3 means, yeah. I think we should give flex 3 as well. Just a second. Okay. So the reason why we have given a flex of 3 is so that it expands and it is 3 times the size of that. But this still doesn't solve the fact that why is this not hmm let's have a look. For some reason this is not ultra auto. Let's have a look as to what is causing it. The sidebar is the same, link flex is the same. Hmm. And in the library we are seeing overflow by auto, right? So flex is something that I feel is a very powerful tool, and it really will help you style a lot of things in general. Hmm. That is the reason why. Just give me a second. I need to figure out as to why is this particular div not scrolling. If I have, let's say, if I have an overflow by over here, and let's say if I make this auto, this is scrolling now. But what we want to do is we just want to scroll this div, right? So I believe we need to have an overflow by of hidden over here, and when we have our library, and if I say overflow by of this, let me also give this a height. Okay, if we fix the height, then that becomes scrollable. Great. So basically, just give a height to your library div, and that will be it. Now it should be scrollable now. Mm, sorry, my bad. This is the wrong repo. I'll just minimize this. Yes, now this is scrollable. Right, great. So okay, somebody had an idea display flex. Did I misspell flex somewhere? No, I haven't. It's working now, guys. So basically, I'll tell you sometimes what happens is you need to give a specific height to your div to make it scrollable, and that's about it. The main point being, our library div is also now scrollable. Right, great. So, okay. Now, what are all the things that a library div will have? Firstly, it will have this div. This is a flex and a flex with a space between. So we have an icon, we have our text. Now, is this similar to this? Is this or is the your library just this part, the icon and this similar to this? Yes or no? It's an icon on the left and text on the right. Are these two things similar? Yes, exactly. So since these two things are similar, what we'll be doing is, Sonika says, why flex 3? The reason why I had given flex 3 was because I wanted it to take 3 times the space of the smaller flex, right? And that's about it. Anyways, so hi Ayush. Anyways, so okay, let's quickly build that. So we have already made a div with the class name link flex, and what that's supposed to have is an icon next to basically a text, right? And if you think about it, these two things will also be a link flex because they're just an icon next to an icon. So we'll still use the same class, and the only difference is that there will be a div wrapping these two divs, which will be a div with a justify content of space between. That way, this will be on the left, and your plus and the right icon will be towards the right. Correct. So, okay. That is also something that can be easily done, right? So, if I show you the code for it, basically we have something like this. We have a div called flextop, and this flextop div basically has the styling of space between. Then these two link flexes div will be on the two edges of the div, one on the left, the other on the right, because justify content will be space between, and that's about it. So this is what we'll put over here quickly, and let's worry about styling our flex top, right? So now, what is my flex top? Like I said, flex top will be a display flex. Justify content will be space between, and align items, let's put center as well. Mm, And other than that, we can give this not a gap, but a margin bottom. I would like to give of a zero point 0.5 rem. This way, at least there'll be some margin bottom as well, right? The moment we do that, this is what we have on the screen, and that's about it. Like I said, it's just a display flex, and we're using the same icon div that we used in the home and the search thing, and that's about it. Right. So Aman says, Sir, I have a doubt. What is VW and its values? Sorry for disturbance. No worries, Aman. So this is technically the second doubt that we have. Third, Sonika also asked, what is Flex 3? So Aman, okay. VW stands for view width and VH stands for view height. So view width and view height are properties or basically their dimensions that are based on your viewport. Now, what is your viewport? For me, it is this screen. For someone viewing this on their mobile screen is their viewport. So when I say 90 view width or 90 view height, that would mean 90% of the entire height. When I say 100 view width, that is 100 VW. That will be 100% of the view width, right? Zero would be 0%. 100 would mean 100%. Does this make sense? Aman. So VW stands for view width. So it's the entire width of your screen. And VH stands for view height. That is the entire height of your screen. So if you give view width and view height properties, by default, your code does become a little responsive, right? It makes writing media queries simpler, honestly speaking. That's about it. Great. So, okay, now let's build this part. Now, what do you think this part is? This part is nothing but this is what we call as a chip in CSS, and a chip is nothing but it's a div, a rounded div with some padding and a text, and that's it, right? So we need to first make a chip flex, and that will also be our link flex only, and add some chips. That's about it. What is a chip? Like I said, it's just a div with some text and a little padding and curved borders. That's it, right? So again, very simple to make a chip flex as well. So something that I will tell you guys is the good thing that I really like about Spotify is the UI is very simple. Unlike Instagram, I believe no Manmood. So view width is always 100% of the entire screen, right? 100% is relative, but VH and VW will always be the entire screen. All right. Anyways, so coming to the point, like I said, unlike Instagram clone that we built last Sunday, this Spotify uses similar styling again and again, and I feel that makes the our job today very simple, right? So, anyways, let's talk about chips. So, uh, I should actually get all of these. Hmm. Okay, so the styling for our chips is also very simple. Our chips basically have a simple margin top, just to give a basic margin at the top. It has a padding. The padding is very, very minimal. Look at what happens if I make the padding as 1 rem or 1.5 rem. I'll have to change this, but my bad. Yes. Look at what happens if I change the padding, if I make it 1 rem, right? Did you guys notice how these chips increase in size if I make it 1.5 rem? Are you guys seeing what is happening to the chips? So there's a reason as to why we are giving it a very minimal, a very minimal padding, and that's about it. Cool. So far, how many of you guys are understanding? How many of you guys are not understanding? I would definitely want to know, and I would like to know. Right? Any doubts? Anyone has so far? Anything at all? Great. So, okay, now let's continue. So, over here we'll have our search icon and this. Now, if you notice this, this is also space between. It's a flex with space between, right? So, okay, Rana Deep has a very important question, and that is why should we use padding? So, okay. So, firstly, I would like to discuss what is padding and what is margin. Margin is the gap that you give outside your div. So, if you have a div, if you want to give some spacing outside it, that is when you use margin. And padding is the gap that you give inside a div. So, when I talk about this is a margin between these two divs. Whereas when I talk about the difference between these two things, the inside is the padding and the margin is this. It's just a good way. I think it's aesthetically pleasing if your divs have a good padding, Ranadeep. If I'm being very honest, it's just for aesthetics. If you don't want to give padding, don't give padding. But without padding, everything becomes too cramped up, right? Especially it becomes too close to the border. So you should give a basic padding. It looks good, right? That's more or less about it. So, what I was speaking of was the fact that just like we had this part where we have two divs at the very extreme sides of this of the div, we need to have these two icons over here as well. One is a search icon and the other is a recent tag. And the thing is that they need to be spaced between. So we can use the same class name that we've given over here, which is flex top. So we can just have another div over here having flex top, and inside flex top we just need to have a search icon, right? So I can say something like src dot slash assets dot slash search, right? And other than that, I can have a p tag which says recents. The moment I do that, I can already see, hmm, for some reason we don't really see this. Let's see as to why are we not seeing. Okay, we need to have it over here. My bad. So the moment we have it inside, the reason why we couldn't see that was because it was not inside the library. At the end of the day, this is our library, right? We need to have everything inside our library. Okay, so just like that, we have built this also, and now we come to the exciting part. The exciting part of making this, right? So let's just think about this. What do you think this particular div is? If I am being very honest to you, this div is yet again a link flex because we just have a image and something in display flex, right? And the now the catch is that the other div is just a normal div, right? So we need to have a p tag and something else below it, and that's about it. So this will also be a link flex, and inside a link flex, we have a text and a line. And between the two, by the way, did you guys know that you guys can technically have these dots written as well? And these dots have certain codes. So let me just show you dot, but full, yeah, dot symbol. So this is what we call as Unicode, and you guys can technically write symbols in Unicode. So let's say I copy this. Right. If I copy this instead of your library, so just look at what happens. Instead of this text that we have, I'm going to write that dot. If I just paste this hashtag value, right, notice that this becomes a dot. So for every character that you see on the screen, there's actually a Unicode attached to it. And if you paste that Unicode in your HTML, you will get that particular icon, right? You just have to Google, obviously, and that's about it. So we can technically make this entire thing by having this text and then that Unicode and then some other text, right? And that's about it. So over here, if we go, okay. So what we'll do is we'll have a div called albums. The albums will basically just have some padding, and that's it. To just having divs inside divs is a good thing, right? Wrapping everything inside a parent. And then we have a link flex, and the link flex has an image and some text, right? So even this becomes a very simple div to make. So below our recents, we'll have this, right? And let's have a look at how it looks right now. So this is how it looks right now. As you guys can see, this is just our link flex div with an image and with this text. We need to obviously style the text and the image. So let's just quickly do that as well. So the styling that we need to get are basically this album flex, this album cover, and that's it. I think so. This should be good to go. Yeah, the moment we do that, this is how this looks. And obviously, even right now, this isn't perfect. We need to style the text properly. So I think for the text, album name is the styling that we had. So inside the album name styling, it basically just gives it a smaller font size and reduces the margin bottom, and that's about it. So just like that, this is what you'll have then, right? And one more thing that I would like to quickly do is on the hover, on the hover of your album flex, you should do one more thing. So dot album flex hover, and what I would like to give is I would like to give a background color of VR dash dash light gray, right? And I'll give a transition all of 0.3 seconds. So this is what happens is, do you guys see this? Right, this is a similar thing that they have done. Obviously, their color is a little different too. So let's actually see what their exact color is. So here I've taken a screenshot, and color slurp is this application that I like to use to pick colors, right? So you just need to go over here, click on pick a color, and then it will tell you the exact color. So the exact color was 1A, 1A, 1A. This is the exact hex code, right? So just copy this exact hex code. Let's go to our album flex, and inside our album flex, this is the exact color that we want to give. Now we should give this a padding as well of and a border radius too of zero point 0.5 gram. Right. So now this is how it looks, and this is very similar to this styling, I must say, right? And that's how simple it was. Great. So now all we need to do is just repeat this, I guess, as many times as we want to, and we'll have our workout playlist also there. So this is the div that we need to copy and paste. And now if I just copy and paste this div a lot of times, right, I will successfully have the left section already, right? So with this also marks the halftime of our entire master class. It's 2 p.m. So we have 1 hour to make this side, 1 hour to make this side, and to make the player. Cool. So does anyone have any doubts on the left side? We have successfully made the entire left side. And one thing that I'll show you guys is, do you see how this album is getting cut a little? So it's more or less a hack that I like to use. But the hack says that you go to let's say your library, and you give this a padding bottom of a large number. So this way, is at least when you scroll down, right, maybe a little more, so maybe something like 20 rem. Mm, this way, this doesn't really cut certain things. Just a second, let me have a look. Hmm. No, we should not mess with this. Just a second. If I give it 90, how does that look? Yeah, 90 looks much better, right? Anyways, and I feel we should get rid of the margin that we have over here. If I make this 0, let's have a look. Album flex. Yeah, I think this looks much more cleaner. Anyways, okay. So Sonica has a doubt. Sir, shouldn't the overflow property be applied to albums div or the div above that? Yes, idly Sonica is correct. Wow. So that is a very impressive catch that you've done, Sonica. So yes, you're right. Idly, the div was the scrollable part was just the albums div. So this is something that I would give you as a task, and obviously everyone, I would like to say that everyone should appreciate Sonika for her alertness. She did identify this correctly, the fact that over here only this part is scrollable and this is sticky, right? But don't worry, this is something that we're tackling on the right side, right? I've made sure to tackle this. So on the right side, the only part that is scrollable is this stays at the top, right? But definitely great work, Sonika, catching that. Anyways, okay. So, any other doubts? Anyone? We'll definitely address that in five. I think in the next 10 minutes. But other than that, so okay, let's start working on our main content now, and let's talk about the main content. So the way I like to see it is the main content, or let me go to the Spotify clone that I have built. Okay. So the way I like to think about it is the main div that we have. It does have these albums, but firstly, it has a nav bar on top of it. Now, how many of you guys have experience with nav bars? Nav bars are basically just headers, right? And this is just a sticky nav bar. So we just need to build a sticky nav bar that sticks at the very top of this div. Then other than that, we need to have a scrollable div below it, which will have these cards. And that's about it. Even the main content is actually not that bad, right? And if you think about it more, you will realize the fact that even this nav bar is our links flex and our top flex. So the top flex will mean that we're putting a space between in the flex, and the link flex would mean that we have two icons on the left and two chips on the right, and that's about it, right? So how many of you guys are with me on this? Let me know. And also, like I said, do wait for the certificates. I think once we're done with the main section, we will float the certificates, right? So yeah, am I audible, guys? Hello. Great. So, thanks, Ayush. But all right. What about Ranadeep and Aman and Manmoot? Are you guys here, Sonika? Let's keep the chats active, right? Avishkar, Glenn, Floydon, are you here today? Or you don't seem to be that active, as active as you were last week. So, would really appreciate you guys being active. So Ranadeep says that Avi sir, so Sonika's point was that the upper arrows didn't get covered. Yes, exactly, Ranadeep. So Sonika's point was that we need to make this entire section sticky, right? And that is what we're coming to. So basically, sticky div is a div which sticks at the top, right? As you guys can see over here, this part is sticking at the top. If I show you Akijob's website, just go to Akijob's website and you will see that even this div is sticky. A sticky div is just a div which sticks to the top of the page, right? It's not really going anywhere. A lot of people use display fixed for that, but I will tell you, using sticky is better because sticky doesn't interfere with your styling, whereas using fixed is above your styling, right? And that is a concept that you will need to understand. So for that, I would really want you guys to go and have a look at this positioning in CSS, right? So go to the CSW3 schools layout, and I would want you to have a look at the difference between all of these five position properties, right? So definitely between sticky and fixed, because those sticky, fixed, and absolute, those three are the three that we'll be using the most. Okay, so we need to make a sticky div. So Zodiac, you just need to wait for I think another 20 minutes. Let's just finish this main content. Then I will personally ask the team at Akijob to float the forms for the certificates. You guys will then get the certificates. You guys can then put them in your resumes, upload them on LinkedIn, share, right? So just wait for 15-20 minutes more, and then we'll definitely float them. Okay, so let's have a look at what our main content looks like. Like I told you guys, main content will have a nav bar, and this nav bar will be sticky, right? So let's quickly talk about that. So we go to our main content. Inside our main content, we'll have a navbar. The navbar will be sticky. Link flex we already know, icons we already know, and link flex and chip we've already used. So the only thing is the navbar. Now, how would you style your navbar? Right, like I told you guys, it will have a position of sticky, right? And I'll show you guys what sticky does. So let's just quickly go over here and here. Okay. So now quickly have a look. I've given it a position sticky. I've given it a top zero. Top zero means top of the page. Display flex, flex, space between, space between. Padding would mean just a padding inside gap, right? A line item center will be vertically centered. Background color gray. Z index 1000 would mean it's at the top, right? Now let me just inside our main content. What I'm going to do is I am going to have just a second. I need to figure out. This is the nav bar, and this, so our nav bar is ending over here. So let's just have a lot of H1s, right? So let's say we have a lot of H1s, correct? If I go to my this thing, as you guys can see, do you see how the nav bar has now become fixed, right? Is the nav bar scrolling? No. Now I would want to show you guys the difference between display position sticky and non-sticky. Let's say I don't have this. Look at this. Do you see how the nav bar goes away? But with just position sticky, what we say is that the navbar stays, right? And that's about it. That is what position sticky does, right? Basically, that's it. Anyways, now something that I was saying is that you guys might think that you guys can do with position fixed. If I do position fixed, the issue is firstly my styling technically gets a little, like I said, position fixed and position sticky really messes with your styling. Sticky acts like a normal div, whereas with position fixed, you need to take care of certain things, right? We'll be learning about position fixed when we make the music bar at the bottom. So don't forget, we are yet to make this component, and this is the position fixed, right? So let's just keep this position sticky for now, and we'll definitely talk about position fixed in details, right? But for starters, tell me this, and especially Sonika, if you're still here, will you now be able to add position sticky to this your library div, especially to this part, to make sure we get a similar kind of a UI? What do you think? So what about Ayush and Aman and Ranadeep and Manmood? So do you guys agree? Like basically we need to do this thing, this feature over here as well, right? So how many of you guys feel you guys will be able to kind of uh, test it, try it, something, maybe see if it works or not? Great. So awesome. As per what I can see, there's a difference between scrolling pattern on sidebar and main content. Not really, Sonic. I mean, yes, you will have to rearrange the divs a little. Definitely, you will have to rearrange the divs. I'm not saying that, but it is achievable, right? What do you think? I mean, I am saying you will have to try. The div structure is different. You are correct. You're absolutely correct. But you can still apply the same position sticky and try to make it work, right? That's my point. So, okay, without any further ado, I would say let's move on to the cards. Now, this is the favorite part, or this is my favorite part for this website, and it is building this. Now this card looks very cool and interesting, and trust me, but it is actually very simple to build this card. So this card is just a div, has a fixed width, right? If you want to even give it a fixed height as well, to be honest, has an image and two p tags, and that's it. So just a div with a fixed width, has an image inside of it, then has two texts, right? So looks very complicated, not even complicated, but looks cool, right? But it's very simple to achieve. So okay, how do we take care of this? So firstly, let me get rid of all of these hellos. I don't really want all of these hellos, and let's go to our code that we are referring to. Okay, so basically, what we'll have is we'll have this container called the cards container, right? And this cards container is basically a flex to put these cards one next to the other, right? So the structure that I have decided is we'll have a heading cards container, heading cards container, heading cards container. The heading is just the heading card container is basically a flex with flex wrap, by the way. Why flex wrap? Flex wrap would mean if you have multiple rows. I don't think so. Spotify really has multiple rows. Yeah, Spotify doesn't really have multiple rows, but if you had multiple rows, it will just put it in the next line. So if you guys haven't used FlexWrap, I would really suggest you guys to go and have a look at the documentation. FlexWrap is something that is really important, right? Anyways, so just a heading and cards container. That's it. So below our main nav bar, we'll have this. So a heading obviously, and then a card container, and then we have the card, the image, the card name, and the description. Right. So the cards container, like I said, is a display flex with a flex wrap. The card is fixed with background color light gray, padding, border radius, height is fit content. What does fit content mean? Is that it will just fit the content. So whatever height is needed, it'll just keep that height. Margin is obviously needed. Then I'm giving a width of 100% to the card because card image. So basically what I want to say is the image should take as much space as it can, right? And that's basically by 100%. So one of you guys had a doubt with percentage and view widths and view height. So percentage is relative to the parent, view height and view width is relative to the screen port or viewport, sorry, right? That's about it. The card name, a simple margin, card description, a simple description as well, and that is it. So just having these 2 3 classes is good enough, right? So when we have these 2 3 classes, you'll immediately realize that we are done, right? This is how it looks. Now obviously our main content is missing some padding, so let's just fix that quickly. Our main content needs to have some padding. It does have some padding, but yet, oh, sorry. Yeah, our main content doesn't have any padding. Let's give it a padding of 1 rem over here. Right, just like this. This is how it looks, and this looks great right off the bat. Right. So now, what I wanted to show you guys was, let's say we have a lot of such cards. We have three. If I have three, three adjusts. Right. Let's say if I have four, four will adjust to. Let's say I have five, five will also adjust. Let's say if you have six, six comes at the bottom. Now, if my screen size decreases, fifth one comes at the bottom. If my screen size decreases further, fourth one comes at the bottom. So this is the use of flex wrap. Whereas if we didn't have flex wrap in our cards container, if this was not there, look at what happens. Not really the desirable output that you need, right? Would you rather prefer this or would you rather prefer that? I would personally rather prefer that. So that's why I really like to use flex wrap, and that's about it, right? So cool. And with that, your entire card component is also done, right? So now if you think about it, what is all of this is nothing but just repetition, right? So I can just practically copy this, add one more. Instead of recently played, I can say made for you, right? Then I can again copy this and say something like your top mixes, and that's about it, right? Maybe have another card, since we definitely have three images, so mix three is the third one, and that's it. With that, we have our this thing also complete. And like I said over here, notice, yes, definitely Manmood. Now what I said was your top mixes. So if you guys can see, your top mixes is getting cut, right? So again, a quick fix for that is just go to your main content and give it a very large padding bottom. So go to your main content and over here just give it a padding bottom of something like 6 rem. And when we do that, as you guys can see now, there is some gap at the bottom of main content, so it doesn't cut your content, right? So okay, so with this, our entire main content is also done. And now I would want you guys to ask me any doubts that you have in our main content, and and that's about it. So any doubts that anyone has so far? Our main content has also been done, right? Sonika, Ayush, Manmood, Aimless. So Aimless, Aimless is asking sir is bar front end 3 में क्यों नहीं थे? So I like I said I used to be a front end 3 instructor at Accio. So I've taken a little break from that, and don't worry. So Aimless says no sir, no doubts. So all right. Sonika, what about you? Zodiac, Ranadeep, and I feel Floyden is has not been active for a while, so that is strange. Um, Ruchi, are you still here? Ruchi did ask us about the assets, and since then she hasn't really said anything. That's fine. So, okay, I have asked the team to float the forms. So now, like I promised, you guys will be getting the certificates, right? So I think that form will be live in a few seconds. That is when, okay. So the form is live. Feel free to take a break. Go fill this form. We'll be taking a break for 5 minutes, right? So go ahead, fill the form. The form should be available in the chats, and you will get the certificate for this masterclass as promised. And yeah, let me know if you're facing any issues filling the forms, and let me know if there's any doubt regarding anything. So, is the person who was wondering what are for loops still here? By default, are you still here? You wanted to know what for loops and while loops are, the difference between for loop and while loop. Anyways, and yes, like I said, do definitely let me know if the form is causing any issue, and if you guys did not receive the certificate or not. So leave a +1 when you guys are done. Till then, we're taking a break officially, right? And yeah, till then, one more thing that I would like to show you guys is okay. So there are actually a lot of playlists available publicly for free at AkiJob's YouTube channel. So I would really appreciate if you guys did subscribe, because okay, Aimless, we'll talk about that in just a second. But like I said, there are a lot of master classes that have been done, a lot of courses. So not just this project building workshops, there are a lot of playlists in general, like this one. So we have taught about a lot of things over here. We have taught about, I think, basics of HTML and CSS. So for those of you guys who were definitely new to HTML and CSS, I would really want you guys to go through this playlist. And these are all very small videos, 10, 15-minute videos. You can just watch this at 2x and quickly get to know about the different things, right? Then other than that, we have more playlists. Like I said, if you want to know how to build your resumes, if there's in general any doubts, right? If you want to know about what is the hiring process, how are companies hiring, how should you prepare for interviews, all of those things, right? There are certain life of active job student videos as well, right? A lot of students get offers, so all of those reaction videos are there. Recently 3 students got placed at 12 to 15, so even their reactions were really really nice. So definitely have a look at these videos. And yeah, so okay, is the form working? So when will JavaScript masterclass come? That is a very good question. So we will definitely try to do one soon, right? Definitely. I would say there was another form that was floated. So maybe we'll float a form for your feedback. Definitely, we'll take this feedback. So maybe we can have a JavaScript masterclass too. In fact, there must have been one. Just a second. I can guarantee you there has been an yeah. So 3 months ago, Suman Ghosh is another instructor. She took the basics of JavaScript, right? So definitely have a look at this masterclass. Has already been done. So whatever and everything that you might think of has already been done, right? Fundamentals of Bootstrap has also been covered. Fundamentals of Oops has also been covered. Like fundamentals of low-level design, fundamentals of arrays using Java, SQL basics, open source, front-end roadmap, DSA roadmap, right? A lot of things have already been done. So I would really recommend you guys just going through these live sessions because they are very interactive and I would say very interesting sessions. But okay. So if the form is working for everyone, I think it has been around 5 minutes. Let's continue with the class, shall we? So just before we start coding again, Aimless has asked what's the difference between object.prototype of and prototype. So prototype of would technically mean the parent, whereas a prototype refers to the child. Uh, or prototypal inheritance refers to children technically, but in a very layman term, and if I were to just say it in 1 second or in a single line, this is how I would explain it. Prototype of would mean what is this object the prototype of, right? Whereas what are this object's prototypes is what the prototype will give, and prototype of will give the parent. So just the parent and versus the child. That's about it. So, okay, a lot of you said yes, and Aman says the form is not opening. Aman, the form has been opening for a lot of students. I would say try a different network or a different device, right? I don't believe the form should close anytime soon. If the form will close, I'll definitely ask that. Anyways, so don't worry, definitely the form must be working. And so Aimless has another question, and Aimless says, "Sir, why do we need Bootstrap when we ourselves can style pages better?" So yes, definitely you can style your pages better yourself, but the reason why there are styling libraries like Bootstrap and Tailwind and in fact component libraries is because when you are working with a larger set of people, let's say you are Facebook and you have 10,000 developers working under you, would you prefer 10,000 developers to style divs separately, like on their own? Some people might call div a wrapper, some might make a class called container, some might give a padding of 0.5 rem, some might give a padding of 1 rem, some might give a font size of 1 rem, some might give a font size of 1.2 rem, right? So when you have such a large group of people working under you, and especially when there are so many teams, so many different iterations of the same product, wouldn't you want a styling library that everyone can rely on? Whenever I say a p tag, wouldn't you want all the p tags to be the same size? Wouldn't you want all the paddings to be the same way? Wouldn't you want all the flexes, all the grids, everything, right? Yes, maybe in the next project we can use SAS, but like I said, this is just a very beginner friendly masterclass. And anyways, so that's basically the reason why. And okay, so let's go ahead and build our player. Now I want you to understand what your player is, right? So if you think about it, the player firstly, okay. So this div is something that I would want you guys to build. It's a very simple div. It's the same as this one, right? So I'm not going to build this one. I'm going to give this as a task to you guys. But okay. So let's talk about this div and this div. So what do you think these two things are? Firstly, they are just divs. The top line is just icons. This line is just icons. When we come to this part, how many of you guys have used inputs, and how many of you guys are aware of this input type called range? So how many of you guys have used this input type range for your projects? So if you guys didn't know, input type range is this slider, right? So HTML themselves give you the slider. So don't worry about the fact that, oh, how are we going to build this sliding thing, how am I going to have this little dot that I move around and all of that. All of that is very simple, right? So all you need to think about is, we already have the fixed div. We just need to make a flex firstly, space between. We'll have one div on the left, one div at the center, and one div on the right. The calculation that I would like to keep is 30 view width, 30 view width. So it's total 60. That means the middle part will be 40, right? Or you could do 20, 20, 60, right? So 20, 20, 60, 20 view width, 60 view width, 20 view width. So at the end of the day, like I said, the total view width that you get is 100, right? Anything above 100 is overflowing, anything below 100 is underflowing. So 100 would be the exact way to use your entire screen's real estate, right? So what you need to do is, you need to basically say 20 view width on the left div, 60 view width on the middle div, and then again 20 view width on the right div, right? Does that sound good? So for how many of you guys does that sound good? What do you guys say? Let's just quickly do that, right? Hi, IT man. I think you've joined a little late, but I'm glad you're here. But nonetheless, anyways, cool. So let's really work on our player. And like I said, since we already have our assets, the player isn't really a tough thing to build, right? So first things first, that I told you guys was that the division, right? So our player itself will be a display flex and of space between. So these are the three divs that I would like to make: volume controls and player center, right? So when I say volume controls, I will give volume controls a width of uh, 30 view width only, and I would like to give my player center a width of uh, 30 30, so 40 view width, right? Correct. And what I would also want to do is the fact that I would want to give my player this thing, display of flex, and justify content space between, right? Align item center, and width is 100 viewer, and that's it. So the moment I do this now, let's have a look at what we have. So obviously we haven't printed anything. So let's do one thing. I would like to give this a background color of orange again, since orange has become our favorite color for the day. Let's stick to orange. And over here, I would want to give this a background color of red, right? And maybe also let's just write some text over here. So hi, hello, hi. The moment we do that, this is what we see. So now can you guys imagine what we're doing? We just have three sections, and like I said, we can also make these 2020 view widths. So 2020, and then, so see, when I have 20 and 20 and 40 in the middle, do you see that there's some gap left? Right? Now, like I said, it's always good to use the 100% real estate of your you know it's always good to use 100% of your real estate. Anyways, so 2020 would be 40. That means ideally this should be 60. The moment we make this 60, I see that it's using 100% of the real estate, right? And that is what it's about. So you guys can also play with these values, whatever suits you the best, I would say. Use that. And okay, that's about it. Right? I think this also works nice. So okay, once that is done, we technically don't need these background colors, and we can just move ahead. So now this will be a display flex of flex direction column. The reason for that is, now we are ignoring this div completely, by the way. I would like to tell you guys that what we are building is this thing. This is a display flex of column, and the reason for that is we want to put flex direction as center, justify content as center, right? So justify content as center, and in fact, we can also put align items as center as well. Right. So this way is what happens is, if I go over here, this thing is now centered. Similarly, what I would want to do is, to volume controls, I would want to put a display flex, but this time I would want to say justify content of flex n. Right. This way is high is towards the extreme right side of the page, right? And the first high is ideally not supposed to be there because that is something that I've left to for you guys to do, and that's it. So this is centered to the screen, and this is on the right edge. So if we style this nicely enough, this is what we'll end up with. We need five icons on the top. We need a slider at the bottom, texts on the either sides of the thing, and this is also what we need to have. Right. So first things first is making this. This is just a display flex again, and might I say this can also be used as the flex info flex that we're using since the beginning. But that's it. Right. So we have another div called player controls, and these player controls is nothing but it's a display flex. Right. So I get that. Now player control. If I talk about what is player controls is just this display flex align item center. That is it. Right. So the moment I put that on the screen and go to our, player, this is what I see. So we've already imported all of our icons. Now the only thing that is left is the timeline or the bar, right? So how do you make the timeline of the bar? Like I told you guys before, that is nothing but it's just your input of type range and have a span before and after it, and that is it, right? So this is just the another div that is left. Let us just put this over here, and all I need to do is get the styling. So the styling for this is also very nice, but firstly I would like to show you guys by default this is how it looks. So this is the default slider of HTML. What we want to do is we want to customize this, right? Now you will ask, how do you customize this? So turns out customizing an input type range is actually very painful, right? So it is something which is very painful. As you guys can see, I myself had to search a lot, and what I would suggest is just try to style it this way or this way, right? There are stylings given over here, but the stylings that I am using are just custom to this. But I would really appreciate if you guys figured out how the styling works, right? So the styling for that is also very simple. You just need to have firstly you need to say webkit appearance none. What this does is this says that whatever your styling will be, right, whatever your styling will be, that will it won't be depending on the webkit, right? Then you have the runnable track. The runnable track is basically the track in which you have to drag things, right? Then the slider thumb. Thumb just means that thumb is the little dot that you want to control, right? Focus would mean that focus is that blue border that whenever you click on an input, that is what focus is, and that's about it, right? So just with these specific lines of styling that I will be providing to you, you can fully make your this thing customizable, and that's about it, right? Now one last thing that I would like to do is the timeline styler slider that we have. I think I've given that also a specific width. Yes, I have. Okay, so just give it a width of 40 view width or 50 view width in our case, I think, and you are good to go. So the moment you do that, let's go over here. This is what this becomes, and I think we messed up a little somewhere. Let's see, what did we mess up? I think it's the div arrangement that we messed up. So this particular thing is supposed to be in this div. No, that is the flex one. My bad. So if it's supposed to be over here, let's try to figure out what did we miss. Firstly, our span is not working. So give me a second. So timeline dash slider. Did we put somewhere any other styling other than this? No, we did not. So we will definitely have to style this ourselves then. Cool. So let's just quickly do that. Very strange that this is breaking though, but okay. Maybe I should have this as 40 viewers. Let's see if, yeah, okay, it was just the width. My bad. So apparently we have, yeah. Okay, so have the width as a little less. This way, what was happening was it was overflowing. So just because of the width, the moment we shrunk our width, everything is good to go, right? And that's about it. So with this, this entire slider is also done. As you guys can just click and drag this as well. So pretty cool, I would say. And this exact color is the Spotify logo color. So since we're just using this once in our page, I haven't really made a root variable for this, but ideally you should make a root variable for this as well, Right, let me just do that right now. Let me say dash dash green, and if I go over here and say dash dash green, I can definitely make a variable. Right. Now the only thing left is this volume slider. And okay, so the volume slider or the volume controls is also very simple. It's just a bunch of icons, and that's about it. Right. So Manbodh says how to open multiple windows. What multiple windows are you talking about, Manmod? You'll have to be a little more, specific. Okay, and just like that, we imported the images. See, something that I'll tell you is I did not really focus about these images because I'm already providing you guys with a lot of assets. It's up to you to use whatever asset you want to, right? And yeah, I that just so this is just a gesture that I do. I think you're referring to this. So this is just a gesture that is there. But anyways, so just like that, I believe our entire stylus should be done. Obviously, this is breaking a little. The reason for that is that our volume slider. Yes, I will give this a margin right. Hmm. Firstly, just get this. Oh, and get this as well. Volume controls. The moment you fix the margin, it's all right. Right. So okay. No, I think in the new Windows 11 this is also possible. By the way, uh, what's some YouTube video on it, Revert? But okay. So just with that, everything is done like I promised, and within 2 hours we have successfully built our Spotify clone. And one thing that I would like to point out is that Spotify web itself, this is the proper web player. This itself is not really that responsive, by the way. So if you just completely bring it short, this is how it looks like, right? So I wouldn't really call this responsive, but anyways. So just like that, we have achieved what we set out to achieve, right? I know there seems to be a lot of chaos, so you guys are not realizing, but this is it, guys. We are done with our Spotify clone, and like we promised, within 2 hours, 1 hour 40 minutes to be precise, not only did we cover everything, but we covered, I feel, everything in detail. So we went through the walkthrough. Okay, I need to give you this extra note, but anyways, we got started with the code. We retrieved all assets. Again, a reminder: all of these assets are available on the GitHub that I provided in the description. Right? We made the page structure. I showed you that orange red thing. Right? Sidebar. We fully made the sidebar. Then we worked on the main container plus cards. Main container plus cards. Then I hope you guys have received your certificates, right? Certificates were the most one of the most important parts of this series or this session. So I hope you guys do share your certificates on LinkedIn. Do tag AccuJob, right? And do obviously it is something to be proud of. So be proud of yourselves. We have successfully made a Spotify clone using just HTML and CSS within 2 hours. Now, one thing that I would want to talk about is the fact that this has just been made using HTML and CSS, but as a developer, learning JS and learning React should be your next two things on the priority list, right? You can do so much with just by using JS in this project, and that is you guys can probably play music. Yes, you are right. You can play actual music. On the click of this button, on the click of this, you could go back. On the click of this, you could shuffle, right? You guys could click on all of these, load some more data. You guys could put active states. You could fetch all of this data using the free API that Spotify gives, right? You can make sure that when you slide, the music also slides, right? When you skip 10 seconds, when you go back 10 seconds, all of this should go, right? So, in fact, you guys can control the volume as well. So, what I would expect from you guys is the next step is to obviously the videos are available on AccuJob's YouTube channel. So, go over there, watch some videos on JS, and try to make a Spotify clone using JavaScript as well. The API for Spotify is completely free. Sign up on it. It will give you all the data that you need. You can stream music, you can retrieve your playlists, you can create playlists, a lot of things. Right. Now that is something that is a little more advanced. I would say I would not even call it intermediate. That comes inside advanced JavaScript. But The end goal is for you to make functional, proper, responsive, good looking websites. And that is it. Right? All of the code that I've done will be available to you on the GitHub link that I've provided. The certificate links have been given to you. You guys will receive the certificate soon via mail only, so don't worry about it. And yeah, if you have any doubts at all, leave it in the comments or leave it in the form. Or I think there is a one-on-one session form that was floated as well. Feel free to fill that one-on-one session form as well, and an AccuJob mentor will be connected to you. Right. So, how do you guys feel? I think that is it for the conclusion, and we have successfully built our Spotify clone. So I hope I was able to provide value to you guys through this live session, and I hope you guys were able to learn something. I hope I did justice to all of the topics. I did justice to all of the stylings that I explained. At the end of the day, making a clone boils down to content, the assets, and the fonts and all of those things, right? All of which I am providing you guys with. All you need to do is just know when to use padding, when to use margin, when to use flex column, when to use flex row, when to use flex wrap, when to use position sticky, right? All of these concepts are very fundamental concepts of HTML, CSS, but they will take you a long way, right? So I say we can end the session now. What do you guys think? Right? It was a pleasure teaching you guys today, and Sunday well spent. So really proud of everyone in this live stream. So good luck, and hope to see you soon. Right? Thank you so much, Aimless, and let's meet soon.